one of the problems in India is most of the farmers are so poor that as soon as they harvest, they want money in their hand. So they don't have holding capacity. They can't, that is where the futures market doesn't work, because futures market depends upon your ability to hold on to the produce and then sell it at a higher price. Today only the present market is important, not the future market.
So what is the state of the present market in South Asia, and what are its limitations? We travel across the largest country in the region to study the relevance of the present agriculture marketing structures. Azadpur Mandi, spread across 80 hectares on the outskirts of Delhi, is the largest distribution centre for fruits and vegetables in the world. Each year, nearly 4.5 million tonnes of fresh produce passes through its tiny bylanes. A majority of Indian farmers depend on markets such as these to sell their produce.
Existing mandis, as I said, they are monopolistic. So if it's a monopoly market, you'll find that there is always exploitation. So the best way is it's not a question of either or. What we are saying, you have the existing mandis, you create more competition, allow the private sector to get into that segment.
Thousands of government-approved middlemen work here around the clock. A constant link between the farmer and the consumer.
We get commission between 5 to 6%. That's what we cut from the total sale. The facilities the farmers get here, they don't get anywhere else. Like for payment, here you sell it and get the payment right away.
We spend 40 rupees for cutting, another 40 for packaging, 20 on sacks, that's already 100. Then there are 40 on transport, that's 140 on expense. You can imagine that we don't have much left after all that. Before we come here to sell our onions, we call up a day before and check what the going rate is. But when we come here the next day to sell, we are never certain what price we will get till we have actually sold our produce. We don't know for certain what price our crop can sell for, or whether it is possible for the crop to sell at the price that the trader told us it would fetch. So sometimes we make a loss of 5 or 10 rupees, and sometimes we may sell it for a higher price. For instance, with wheat, the government has announced a minimum support price. So it means that if we get an unfair price at the mandi, we can sell the wheat to the government. The same with mustard. That way, a farmer can know for certain that he is not going to sell for less than a certain rate. And if he sells it at a higher rate, then he's lucky.
Nearly 70% of South Asia's farmers have small land holdings and a limited access to markets. Urbanization, rising incomes, emergence of organized retail, and elaborate contracts between farmers and buyers are spurring agricultural commercialization in this segment. But is it enough? Through this film, we will explore how small farmers in South Asia are breaking out of pre-existing marketing structures and traditional crop choices.
The small farmers access the market in two different ways. One is in crops like wheat and rice, where the government of India announces a minimum support price, because these are the crops fed into what we call public distribution system or fair price shops. There are over 200,000 fair price shops in the country. They have to be fed. So the government purchases the wheat or rice directly from the farmers. That is why the production has gone up, because the assured and remunerative marketing. Largely they depend upon local markets. They have no way of going to global market.
The emergence of organized retail is changing the way South Asians consume, creating a need not only for high-quality produce, but modern storage and packaging methods as well. Some retailers, such as Bharti Walmart, are attempting to source produce directly from the farmer.
Bharti Walmart has selected me as a lead farmer. Every morning at 6 a.m. the company gives me an order of what vegetables they want that day and what quantity. Based on that, I give an order to the farmers every day. Somebody will have cauliflower or coriander or cabbage. Most of the farmers here are illiterate and completely unaware of new technology. The company introduces them to new technology. The issue is that farmers may have 10 tons of any given vegetable, but we may need only 10 quintals. So the rest, he will have to sell in the mandi.
Namdhari's Fresh, a retailer in Bangalore, understands the problems of sourcing from small farmers better than most.
We are looking at the very big market opening in India for organized retail. We have about 5,000 farmers linked to this project. It is very difficult to convince farmers because this is a new concept for them. Small scale farming is definitely having limitations that if a small farm is inside, bringing a small volumes to deliverable place is expensive.
But these obstacles, and including small farmers in agricultural growth, are not insurmountable. One successful solution is assistance-based procurement, where the buyer equips the farmer with the requisite knowledge, training and infrastructure. McCain Foods has employed this method in rural Gujarat, which has rapidly transformed into a potato-growing region.
They teach us how to cut and sow and what seeds to use. We get a one-year training for all this before we started growing potatoes. And for all this equipment, with that too they supported us to buy it. Because when we started, we did not have all this, and we could not buy it in 1 year.
We have some 1,000 growers. In India, we buy almost 95% through contract farming. We have our, systems where we can monitor the crop growth. Like we have installed weather stations in Gujarat. With that, we can forecast the next 15 days, what will the temperature conditions, relative humidity, and based on that, we can develop a model. Okay, we can forecast disease, whether there will be late blight disease or not. Based on that, then we will advise our farmers, okay, you should go for spraying now. The humidity is high, temperature are low, or maybe at start, we will alert the farmers that this is the right time to go for the spray.
The crucial element in McCain's contract farming system is the introduction of a fixed price at which the company purchases potatoes from its farmers.
Earlier, when we used to sell in the mandi, we were never sure of the price. It was constantly fluctuating, sometimes up, sometimes down. We would often be at a loss because there was no fixed price. The market could rise or fall. With this system of McCain Company, we have a fixed price, we have certainty, we know when we are sowing what price we will definitely get. This has helped improve our economic condition.
So you know your productivity or production per unit of area, acre or per hectare, and you know that your purchase price, and you know your cost of inputs. Then the growers, they can easily know the total profitability that is going to come out of this McCain and Farm Alliance.
Making the farmer more responsive to the market and to new technology is an exciting way forward for small farmer-led agriculture commercialization.
So McCain's has been able to really bring in technology. They have been able to provide better kind of extension services to the farmers. And on the top of that, I think the assured market price. So these are the three key elements for their success story.
When the Indian government attempted to introduce foreign direct investment into the retail sector in 2011, it led to large-scale protests across the nation. Small and unorganized traders expressed anger at the government's decision. They believe that the entry of foreign retail outlets would weed out the small corner shops Faced with opposition, the government hastily withdrew its decision.
Everyone is angry, all the shopkeepers are upset. All the small and big shopkeepers in this street are angry.
India will get left behind. The foreigners will progress.
We want that the shops that are in our neighborhoods should remain as is. These are all rich people's shops. We poor people prefer our neighborhood shops.
While the government has permitted foreign investment in a controlled and limited manner for wholesale outlets, as of now it will not be allowed in the retail sector. The FDI question continues to rage on.
One of the issues is we have been talking about FDI in retail sector and allowing, say, MNCs. But I think we have already some of large Indian companies, talk about Reliance, talk about Bharti, talk about any other large company. They are all into retail. And the kind of investment which we were expecting from these large companies on the back end of the supply chain, where they were talking about creating cold chains and a whole lot of post-harvest infrastructure, but that has not come up in the last, say, about 10 years. So that's the kind of a danger.
There is a need for the government to facilitate private sector investment, but it must also facilitate competition to make sure that the private sector doesn't develop monopoly profits.
Creating new marketing avenues for small farmers is crucial and will require a range of policy solutions.
Small farmers, you see, there are only three methods. One is they can form their own cooperatives. Or secondly, what we call contract cultivation. A company purchases it. Thirdly, the corporate sector buying through either a contract farming or they only do marketing. For example, ITC doesn't do contract farming, but they buy the soybean and then market it.
Cooperative movements in agriculture have had a long and successful history in South Asia. In India, Amul, a dairy cooperative that started in Gujarat, has emerged as the world's largest producer of milk and milk products. The cooperative collects nearly 9.4 million litres of milk per day from its members, 75% of whom are small and marginal farmers or landless labourers.
Amul is certainly a success story because for the simple reason, they are not only marketing milk, but they provide a lot of services. The important thing for the farmers, veterinary services. Then they give fodder and feed.
Amul follows a system of equitable distribution of profits that has not experienced any significant losses in the last 3 decades. The cooperative sets aside a certain portion of its profits for a contingency fund to meet any emergencies. This model ensures that if there were to be a loss in the future, it will not immediately affect the members.
In case of Amul, I think there are 3 or 4 factors which are, one is the leadership issue. They have clearly defined roles and responsibilities, so nobody has interfered in each other's territory. Second is, I think there is something like interlocking of their interest. For example, if I'm a milk producer, so I have interest in running my primary dairy cooperative society. My liquid milk flows into, say, the processing plant where it gets converted into milk and milk products. And at the third level, you have the state marketing federation where my products being sold by the state marketing federation. So if I make profit at one stage, that comes back to me. If I make additional profit at the second stage, again the profit would come back to me.
The cooperative has also carried out a great deal of infrastructure development, building feeder roads from collection centres to main centres. It has also developed ultra-modern dairy centres. Infrastructure development cannot be the domain of private companies or cooperatives alone. The Indian government too has developed concrete roads from villages to markets, a measure that has vastly benefited farmers.
When we go to the mandi, we usually take this road. This road has not only made it safer, but the mandi seems closer as well. There are unpaved roads here as well, but with those, there is a problem. But now there are concrete roads on all 4 sides. This road was strengthened by the government and it has benefited farmers a lot. Whereas earlier it would take us 2 hours to get anywhere, now it only takes 30 minutes.
The highways of information are just as crucial as concrete roads. Projects like ITC's e-Chopal in India and similar initiatives in Bangladesh and Pakistan are addressing this need by introducing farmers to information and communication technology. Farmers are learning how to use mobile phones and computers to stay up to date with the latest information.
The biggest issue in this village was lack of information, lack of awareness. This has been addressed by ITC, who have made internet available to us, through which farmers can easily access the latest information. And because of this, they have been able to increase productivity. Farmers have become more aware of how to store their crop and where to sell it. They have been able to make a lot of progress because of this.
It's a good platform where you can provide a whole lot of information related to the technology, related to weather forecast on the production side of it. It does provide a lot of information on the market side in terms of price, in terms of the other kind of overall demand and supply scenario. So it's an important instrument in terms of empowering farmers with the knowledge base and with the information.
Combining technology with direct extension services is an approach that is yielding results. Farmer training programs like this one are emerging as an important platform for buyers to share relevant information with farmers.
Farmers get a lot of benefit from these training programs. They teach us how to harvest and also visit us from time to time to see what fertilizers we should be using. So we benefit from this information. For example, first we would just sow in the traditional manner. Now we sow in a line. They tell us here in the training the best way to grow up our crop.
Inclusive growth, one that actively seeks and promotes empowerment of small farmers, is the only sustainable way to transform South Asia's commercial agriculture landscape.
The national policy for farmers starts by saying that we should bring about a paradigm shift from measuring agricultural progress purely in terms of the growth rate in production to one of growth rate in the farmer's real income. In other words, the income orientation to farming, that can come only from assured and remunerative marketing. So there are a number of exploitative methods of marketing. There are fair and equitable systems of marketing. Gradually, we are hoping that the fair and equitable system will grow, and the exploitative system, which sometimes have led to farmer suicides and so on, they will be somewhat reduced.
Green Revolution had a tremendous impact, a positive impact on economic development and poverty alleviation in South Asia. But the Green Revolution has almost run its course, and what's needed now is renewed investment in productivity increases.
Reorienting public expenditure from subsidies to agricultural research and poverty reduction schemes. Creating physical infrastructure, rural roads and storage facilities. With increased access to markets for small farmers, millions of South Asian lives stand to be transformed.